for looking irritated. But we might have found the real source for his irritation.
You're still the worst flopper in the NBA.
Just still wait. Get back to your seat.
I was back
Get
here.
back to your
He
seat.
just hit my phone.
I hit my thing. I'm saying you're going out of here, okay?
I stood right here.
Hey, we don't mind you cheering and everything, but when talking to the
He just hit my phone.
you walk over here, okay? Sir, it's real simple. Your seat is over there. There's no reason for you to be over here in this rail in the first place, right?
Okay.
All right? Right?
Okay.
So
I'll stay in my seat.
You see what I'm saying? If you were at your seat, that would have never happened. Exactly.
All right, first of all, I know that second officer from Houston, Officer Malone. I know him a little bit. He does a good job. Second of all, I love James Harden. I can't defend him on this. The guy didn't use profanity. The guy didn't say anything vulgar. You can't hit the guy's phone. He's not. The guy is in the seating area. Like, you can't slap the guy's phone, right?
Is that a crime?
I don't.
I've knocked away a few phones in my day.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a crime, but I don't think Harden should have done that. I hate hecklers. I think guys very often go over the line. I think calling Harden the worst flopper and Harden slapping the guy's phone, I think it's a good look for James. I bet the NBA fines him. I bet you the NBA fines him for that.
Yeah, I'm Nick Wright on this one. That don't bother me.
Okay. Oh,
that don't bother me.
Odd turnabout.
Yeah, I don't come to your job messing with you. Don't come to my job messing with me.
Okay,
every once in a while, guys used to say something to me. I'll throw a football into the stands, too. Yep, I will hit you with one.
I don't have a problem with. That I actually think is funny.
Yeah.
That's a little ingenuity there.
One time we got, man, you threw the football to people. No, I was throwing that to that kid. He didn't get that ball. He didn't get that.
We learned something about you. You don't want any hecklers in here. So no hecklers while you're at work.
You come on my show and do that, I got something for you. Please do that. Matter of fact, if you're a heckler, meet me outside on 6A. We've run into a couple of them, haven't we?
We have run into a few hecklers.
Absolutely.
See, you put that grip on your shoulder, man, is the camel clutch.
We've all had it done. We've all had it done.
Saving those hands for baby soup. Let's do it.
Wow.
30 minutes till your weekend.
Let's go, girl.
Time for some stories to start your morning, Baby Sue. The Knicks have reportedly hired David Fizdale. He'll be New York's 11th head coach since the 2001-2002 season. Fizz will look to turn around a Knicks team that went 29-53 last year. Nick, he wanted this job. He waited for the offer. He mulled other offers while waiting for this one we all read. How much of an uphill climb is this for Fizz?
I would say it's about middle of the pack in the league as far as ease or difficulty. You got a superstar player, but he's coming off an injury. You have a great market, but you don't have a ton of cap space, right? So there's pros and cons to both sides of it, but I trust Steve Perry and Steve Mills. I think Kristaps will come back fine from the knee injury, and I love Fizz as a coach. I think the players respect him. You saw the outpouring of support from great players in this league when Memphis fired him. That's useful, having a guy that players want to come play for. So I like the hire for the Knicks, even though I don't expect them to be a really good team next season.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the hire. More in fact, man, hearing from someone in the Knicks, they're comfortable. That's the reason why they hired Fizdale. They like him. They like his overall defensive mentality. They feel like the organization has got to get tougher. But this is still a huge project. I would disagree with you as far as it being middle of the pack. The New York Knicks will always, besides LeBron James, it will be one of the hardest places to coach in the NBA because the scrutiny, the fan base, and also, don't forget you got to deal with that owner.
That's
so I like what they've done, but this is still a project. And can they get Porzingis to commit long term? This is not a guarantee to that.
Yeah, one of his first trips is a trip to, is it Latvia?
Latvia, yeah.
Latvia to go talk to Porzingis. Moving on to football. The Browns hope they found their franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield. Cleveland's VP of Player Personnel is already comparing his presence to Favre and Montana and Rodgers and Kozar and Aikman. One of these things is not like the other. CC, what are fair expectations for Baker Mayfield?
You guys have to realize, I got a lot of respect for Alonzo, but in putting that up there, when you talk about Favre, he believes he has that overall toughness. When you talk like Bernie Kosar, he believes he's almost like a genius with a photographic memory. Troy Aikman means he's got that awful good touch on his ball. Montana, that means he can be a champion. So, Lonzo, I'm with you. Man, I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. And talking to the personnel department when he visited Columbus, when they were playing the Buckeyes, they told me all the same thing. So I believe Baker is in the right place. Just give him the things to support him. Put an offensive line in front of him because I believe they got good, skilled players.
And you said some of these things after you spent a few minutes with him. You talked about his handshake, his eye contact. Like, there are some people that walk into a room and you just know why they're a star. Like, I haven't been in a room with Baker Mayfield, but everyone seems to just be smitten with this guy.
Yeah, I appreciate that, though. You've been in the room with me. I appreciate that.
No problem. See, the moment I walked in that restaurant in Las Vegas and changed my life forever.
Give me some of that.
So, but football people just seem to be totally impressed by this kid's chutzpah, to use a word I've
Very
gentle
good.
for.
I know
Go ahead, Pepper.
And so,
get in there.
whatever it is, I mean, I'll take them at their word for it. I know his stats were amazing. I know his production was almost unparalleled in college football history. And if he also has that X factor, that's all the better for Cleveland.
And the X factor seems to be the one thing everyone's talking about.
Absolutely.
All right, finally, it's good to be Matt Ryan, right? I mean, that is if money, job security, and fame are things you're into. The 2016 MVP quarterback signed a 5-year, $150 million contract extension with the Falcons yesterday. Unfortunately, only $100 million of that is guaranteed. Just to recap, no matter what, he gets $100 million.
Yeah, they had to put an extra roof on the dome. Couldn't guarantee that lasted.
CC, are the Falcons now a legit contender in the NFC?
The Falcons have been a contender since Matty Ice came to town. He's been consistent throughout his career, got them into a Super Bowl, got them in position to win a Super Bowl. Arthur Blank has done a great job developing not only the talent that they have, but cultivating the business. They just built a new stadium, have the Super Bowl 53 in Atlanta this year, and Matty Ice has been a huge part of what Atlanta's doing. If you have great players, especially a quarterback, you have to be able to keep him and maintain him. And as long as they have Matty Ice there, they can have Super Bowl aspirations. They can have
They had one of the 8 highest scoring offenses in the history of football in 2016. But in 2010, they were 13-3. In 2011, they were 10-6. In 2012, they were 13-3, and they were in the NFC Championship game with, I believe, a missed pass to our friend Tony Gonzalez away from going to the Super Bowl, if I'm remembering playing it back in my head correctly. Like, this is a team that had a down stretch after that and then bounced right back. Last year, I think, I don't know if it's, I don't want to call it bad luck, but the way they got bounced in the playoffs, like you felt like, oh, there was an opportunity for them there that was just a missed opportunity. Like, I am a little more picky than Cris Carter about the quarterbacks that I would be willing to give the $20+ million to. But Matt Ryan is in that bucket of players. Like, you draft a quarterback top 5 saying, I hope they can become a player like Matt Ryan. Now, if they're better than that, that's awesome. But, of course, you do this. You can go compete in the toughest division in football once again next year. And you can't do that without him. And when you draft Calvin Ridley, when you still have Julio Jones, when you've built the offense like this, you've built an offense assuming we're going to have top-flight quarterback play to go along with it, or else you've misallocated the other resources on your team.
And Chris Caney made a good point earlier. These organizations spend year after year, draft after draft, trying to land the franchise quarterback so that all they have to do is build around that guy. And the Falcons can now say, okay, for the foreseeable future, we have our foundation in place. Now we just have to give him weapons, shore up the line, and we could be in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're just saying the same thing they said his whole career. Arthur Blank, in reading his statement after this contract, said, man, the guys deserve this. This is not for the future. It's actually what he's deserved, and we're going to pay him going forward. But it's also, it lets you know the economics, what's going on in the league. The salary cap's going up over $170 million, and the top flight players, they're going to get paid. We better get comfortable talking about $25 million, $30 million. Wide receiver potentially, and Odell Beckham potentially getting $20 million would not be out of the question.
Well, there are two, to me, interesting ripple effects of this. One is how it affects non-quarterbacks. if one of the reasons we're like, oh, can you pay a defensive player more than $16 million a year when quarterbacks are making 22? Well, if quarterbacks are making 30, now Aaron Donald can say, yeah, I'll take 20 million a year, please. Odell can say 20 million a year. Even I don't know if he'll get quite there, but it doesn't sound outrageous when quarterbacks are making 30. And the other ripple effect is Aaron Rodgers. And the reason I bring him up is he was on the exact same contract track as Matt Ryan. They had the same number of years left on their deal. So Aaron Rodgers can say, hey, I've actually won a Super Bowl, by the way. I've also been a league MVP. Everyone believes I'm better than Matt Ryan. Like, they gave him a new deal. I would like a new deal as well. Now, Rodgers has to decide how much of a priority it is for him to be the highest paid, or if he wants the team to use those resources on participating in free agency, which they hadn't done in years past.
Well, they're one of the most successful franchises. They're the only one that's publicly owned. They're cash flow positive. They can give as much money as they want. But from a standpoint of winning, do you want to be more known as Tom Brady-ish, or you want to be known as the guy that made the most amount of money? To me, the most amount of money wouldn't be as important as, hey, listen, I'm willing to not be the highest paid guy, or I'm willing to be as highest paid as Matty Ice. There's no need for him to take less than that, but I'd like to be able to participate in free agency. I'd like to be able to get some weapons on the defensive end. I'd like to be able to get a pass rusher. And if you're able to take something less, that's what it allows the franchise to be able to do. Because to me, we know who the best thrower of the football in the NFL is. It's Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. But we know who the best champion is. It's Tom Brady, and he only makes $14 million.
And even if Brady has lapped the field when we talk about all-timers, if you want to be in the discussion as Mount Rushmore quarterbacks, you have to have, in my eyes, two things: amazing stats and at least 2 championships. Everyone we discuss, whether it be the reason that Marino doesn't get included, Favre doesn't even get included, but Elway, Montana, Manning do, along with Brady, is they have the stats but also the multiple rings. Rodgers is missing that multiple ring, and so that's what CC's
going to be a hard ask for Rodgers to say, maybe I'll take less money. There's been a little bit of bad blood between the organization and he the last couple of months.
Well, it's one thing if the money's going in the organization's pocket. It's another thing if it's going in a wide receiver's pocket or a tight end's pocket to help him out.
That's a very good point. All right, let's move on to the NBA now. Not sure anyone but a true diehard Celtics fan could have predicted what happened last night in Game 2 of this game. You know, the part about a depleted and injured Celtics team beating a stacked Sixers team last night. The part about Ben Simmons scoring just 1 point the whole game, or the part about the Celtics winning 108-103 to take a 2-0 lead in this series. Here is Ben Simmons on his off night.
I think mentally I was thinking too much, overthinking the plays, and wasn't just out there flowing and playing the way I play, which is free. And I think, you know, obviously they have a game plan. I know what their game plan is. I got to play my game.
Coach was saying, whoever bring the fight to one another is going, and whoever the tougher team is going to win. And they definitely punched us in the mouth at the beginning of the game, and we just had to bounce back and get things together.
I'm going to have bad games. It happens. Obviously, it's not the perfect timing, but you head home now. We got 2 home games that we need to take care of and handle business. We got the team to do it, the coaching stuff, and just got to go do it.
Nick, what happened in this game last night? Was this more about the Celtics overachieving or the Sixers underachieving, if you will?
Listen, there's 2 tracks in this game. One is to give the Celtics a ton of credit. They're undermanned. Jaylen Brown is not able to start, dealing with an injury. They're down 22 points midway through the second quarter, and they're up 8 before the end of the third quarter, a 48-18 run. The fact that Terry Rozier continues his production. Jason Tatum looks like a vet, all those things. But my biggest takeaway from last night was about the gentleman that we have pictured out here, and that's Ben Simmons. We've talked about Ben Simmons like he is already one of the 20 best players in this league. That Ben Simmons is, we've talked about, should Philly even want LeBron when they have Ben Simmons? Like, we've talked about Ben Simmons as if he has already arrived. And I have been one of the primary spokespeople about that because I believe that. Ben Simmons was awful last night. The Celtics presented to him an equation he could not solve, an equation he had not had to deal with all year long, the way they defended him, and he had no counterpunch. He didn't even have a good jab at him. To be minus 23 in 30 minutes of play in a close game seems almost impossible. To be minus 23 when your team only loses by 5, it is hard to overstate how bad he was offensively last night. That's, to me, the biggest story, and he's the guy that has to rebound in Game 3.
Big stories in the Celtics, how they're playing. Are they overachieving? Absolutely. They're two marquee players. They're out of the series. Philadelphia is more talented than them, but they play remarkable at home. 6 games at home in the playoffs, they've won all those. You got to give a lot of credit to their role players. History tells you role players play a lot better at home. The home crowd has been tremendous for them. Brad Stevens, the coach, he's cutting himself a path. Greg Popovich, he's got all the trophies and everything, but Brad Stevens right now, besides Pop, you say, okay, who's better than him? Game to game, timeout to timeout, who's better than him? You have to be able to give him credit. On the other side of Philadelphia, what are they doing? Defensively, just concentrate on their defense. 29, 28, and 29. The second, third, and fourth quarter, this is probably the second or third best defense in the NBA. That's the number of points that they gave up to a team that is challenged offensively.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hitting shots all over the court on Philadelphia. So for me, the biggest challenge is, he mentioned Ben Simmons. I always knew that shooting was important in basketball, and in the playoffs where they start to hunker down on you and they get a game plan and a recipe compared to, I'm just playing against you one night. What Boston has done against him has been brilliant, but they got to get better defensively. You can't give up 29, 28, 29 against the Boston Celtics and expect to win a game.
You don't see that happening again.
The defensive part of it?
Yeah.
I think Philadelphia recovers back at home because their home court advantage has been tremendous. And we'll sit after 2 games in Philadelphia and wonder, well, how does Boston beat them 2 out of 3? So I still think Philly down 0-2 is the favorite in the series.
It's a very different 0-2 than Toronto is because they're the road team. Like the Phillies lost both games, so they haven't played at home yet. And as you mentioned, Boston's 6-0 at home, but they're 0-3 on the road in the playoffs.
Yes.
One other name I got to mention: the way the Celtics are defending Philly, they are trying to take away the 3-ball, which is making Joel Embiid one-on-one at all times. Embiid's got to be better than 20 points on 22 shots. When he's not getting double-teamed, he has to have in Philly a 35-15 game. The way the Celtics are guarding him, that's what he should be able to do.
All right, take a break. Coming up, how does LeBron keep being so good year after year? I don't know. It's next on First Things First.
Introducing Taco Bell.